Welcome back to Beauty and the Beasts, where we blend flawless skin with frightening stories. I'm Megan, and while we are pampering ourselves tonight, I've got a tale that'll make your skin crawl, even under all that serum. Because tonight, we're diving into the world of K-pop. It's an industry full of glitz, talent, and picture-perfect idols. But beneath all that shine, there are shadows, and some of those shadows never left. This is the true story of a ghost said to haunt one of the most legendary entertainment companies in Korea, SM Entertainment. From vanishing photos to disembodied legs, dancing in the mirror, many believe the spirit of a young trainee still roams the practice rooms, chasing a dream she never got to finish. So get cozy, start your skincare or makeup, and maybe leave a light on. Let's begin. These days, it's hard to find someone who hasn't at least heard of K-pop, whether it's the music, the idols, or the juicy behind-the-scenes drama. And at the center of it all are the big agencies. SM Entertainment, YG, JYPP, Big Hit, HIB, the ones who shape young hopefuls into global superstars. But behind the glam and glitter, there's another side, a quieter, darker side, one that lives in the training rooms and sometimes in the mirrors. Tonight we focus on SM Entertainment, an agency so legendary even its buildings have ghost stories. Over the years, SM has moved locations, but each place left behind whispers from trainee and artists. Stories that aren't about fame or success, but ghosts. You know, behind the spotlight, trainee life is like a machine, a factory designed to create the perfect idol. And during those intense years, these kids barely have time to sleep. They live inside those training rooms, dancing, singing, repeating the same moves 1,000 times over. Some crack under the pressure, others see things like Unok from Super Junior on his radio show with his bandmate Toon once shared a story that stuck with him. A memory from his trainee days, a memory of a ghost. He had heard of rumors, of course, everyone had. Back when SM's building was still at 521 Aojong in Gangnam, there were stories, unsettling ones. And one day he lived through it himself. He wasn't alone either. Other trainees were there too, and they all saw it. During his trainee days, Unyuk followed a strict routine. Wake up early, go to school, attend acting or modeling classes, then head straight to dance and vocal lessons at SM. He remembers one day in particular. It was a Saturday. Now, Saturdays at SM were different. That was the day of the Saturday audition, the most brutal edition of them all. Crowds would line up in front of the building waiting for a chance to be seen. Only a few made it through. Less than 10 ever debuted it. It said that only raw talent could get you through a Saturday audition. So on that day, everyone was on edge, even the coaches. And that's when something happened. That night, Unyak and a few other male trainees had a special session scheduled, a night dance lesson with their favorite coach. Now, this coach, he wasn't just known for his choreography. He was known for something else, too. His stories. Horror stories. Stuff he claimed he'd seen with his own eyes. Strange things that happened in the building or to the people who trained there and suddenly disappeared. So naturally, the boys were excited. They arrived music early. They arrived early, way before the coach did. The practice room was in the basement. A massive space wide open with bright lights and a giant mirror stretching across one entire wall. Speakers in every corner and right by the wall, an old beat-up one they always used. You know, the kind that rattled a little when the bass hit. And up front, a spotlight lamp. Just one. It was meant to mimic the feeling of standing on stage. But at night, in that damp basement, it didn't feel like a spotlight. It felt like someone was watching you. The walls were cold to the touch. And in the corners, dark patches of mold creeping up like shadows trying to stretch across the ceiling. There was a heavy steel door that led to the hallway outside. It squeaked every time you opened it. And in the far end of the room, another door. That one led to the old costume room. It was filled with racks of clothes, leftover pieces from past legends, BoA, Hot, maybe even SCS. That door, it was always shut, always. Now, usually when it came time for a story, the coach had a routine. He'd sit them all near the costume room door, lights off, everyone in a circle, and then he'd start. No lights, just voices and fear. That night, though, he hadn't shown up yet. He was probably upstairs talking to the staff about the auditions. So the boys waited. They found chairs lined up by the wall, probably where the assessors had been sitting earlier. Some chairs, a table, and that old speaker in the corner. They sat, laughed, gossiped, talking about modeling class, vocal training, and who was the best-looking trainee these days. Just regular stuff. But then Unyok noticed something. On one of the chairs near the speaker, there was an A4 paper. Curious, he leaned over to look. It had the company logo on it. It was an audition form for a girl. Her name, birthday, everything was filled out. But there was no photo, just the form. As Unyok examined it, one of his friends pointed out something odd. "Wasn't there just one paper?" he asked. Unyok nodded, but now there was a photo lying right there on the same chair. A headshot of a girl. Unil stared and something about her fell off. She had pale, almost porcelain skin, large eyes, a motionless shoulder length, dark hair cut into a neat bop. She was pretty, definitely the kind of visual SM liked. But the photo, it didn't feel like it belonged there, and neither did she. Still, the other boys crowded around, nodding in approval. Do you think she made it? Probably a vocalist. No, look at her. She's got dancer vibes. She's got the face. They take her even if she can't sing. The conversation was light, normal, but for Unyok, something wasn't right. The air felt heavier, colder, like something had crept into the room with them, something watching. Still, he brushed it off. The room was always cold and it was raining outside. He kept chatting, pretending not to notice the chills creeping up his spine. And then the creaking sound, the steel door groaned open. They all jumped, and it was just the coach. He strolled in cheerful as always, clapping his hands. Time to practice. Uno quickly slid the form and photo back where he found them, and the night lesson began. But during their break, one of the trainees grinned and asked, "Coach, tell us a ghost story." The coach laughed, nodded, and said, "All right, train hard for the next hour. Then I will tell you something you have never heard before." None of them knew it yet, but the story he was about to tell wasn't just a story. It was a warning. An hour passed, the training was done, and the real fun was about to begin. The boys gathered in a circle in the middle of the dance room, now completely dark except for the faint red glow of the exit sign near the ceiling. One of the trainees got up and quietly locked the steel door. "Just in case," he said with a grin. "We don't want the staff catching us slacking off, right?" The coach chuckled, then sat down with them. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Tonight's story," he began, "is about the trainee ghost." The room fell still. He told them about a girl, a trainee, young, full of hope, but she never made it. Some said she collapsed from exhaustion. Others whispered darker things. But one thing everyone agreed on, she died before she ever got the chance to debut. And her soul never left. People said she still wandered the building, still trained, still practiced in front of mirrors, perfecting routines that would never make it to stage. Sometimes staff walking by late at night would hear music, see movement through the foggy glass of a dance studio, only to find the room empty when they checked. She had become a ghost of routine, trapped in the cycle she couldn't escape in life. The boys listened wide-eyed, their bodies stiff. They knew that life, the exhaustion, the pressure, they felt something for her. A strange kind of sympathy for a spirit who only wanted one thing to debut. Then clink, a sound. Everyone froze. It was the doorknob, the steel one. It rattled once, like someone outside was trying to come in. The circle broke immediately. Someone stood up. "Is that a staff member?" The coach stayed calm, but his voice was tense. "Turn the lights on. Unlock the door. See who it music is." One trainee moved quickly, flicking on the lights, heading toward the door. And just then, Unyok felt something, a shift in the air. It was heavy, suffocating, and it wasn't the usual chill from the basement or the weather outside. It felt wrong, like the air itself was being squeezed, like something invisible was in the room with them. The boy reached the door, slowly unlocked it, and cracked it open. He peeked outside, then stepped out. Silence. He looked left, he looked right. Nothing. No footsteps. No shadow disappearing down the hall. No echo. Just the dim yellow lights flickering overhead. The hum of the building's old wiring. So he came back in, shut the door, and said just 3 words. "No one here." Everyone felt silent because they'd heard it. One boy swore he saw the knob turn, but the hallway was empty. The coach, quick to ease the tension, clapped his hands. "All right, that's enough spooky stuff. Back to practice." He didn't want to freak them out more. Maybe it was just nerves, or maybe something else. He told one trainee to grab a CD from his bag while the others stretched. And then boom, loud music. So loud it echoed off the walls. Everyone turned toward the old speaker in the corner. The boy sent to get the CD. He was still at the bag, CD in hand. He hadn't even reached the player yet. No one had touched it. The speaker had no remote, no Bluetooth, no radio. It was just a basic old speaker for dance lessons. The music was still blasting. Some of the boys looked accusingly at each other. Who did that? Seriously, who turned it on? But no one admitted to anything because no one had. The panic set in. They wanted to leave, but they couldn't. Trainees weren't allowed to walk out of practice without permission. So the coach made the call. "All right, we are ending early tonight." He turned to another trainee. "Go turn it off manually." The boy hesitated, then nodded. "Come with me." Unyuk said nothing, but he followed. As they packed up their things near the speaker, the boy leaned in to press the button. And then he screamed loud, sharp, terrified. His scream cut through the room like a blade. It was Unyuk's friend. The sound was so sudden, so raw that others screamed too, their voices echoing with his in that cold, haunted room. Something had happened. They rushed over to the boy who had screamed. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. "Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? What happened?" He didn't say a word. Instead, he slowly turned around and pointed at the speaker. "There is nothing inside." Just those 4 words. That was all it took. Chaos. The boys screamed. Some jumped back. One of them dropped their water bottle and it rolled across the floor with a clatter. Nothing inside. That old speaker with no Bluetooth, no USB, no FM radio, nothing modern, nothing wireless. It was just a plain old speaker, the kind that only plays music when something's put inside. And yet it had just blasted music so loud it shook the mirrors. But there was no CD, no tape, no anything. Just an empty, silent speaker. Howled. The trainee were now in full panic. Some looked toward the door, others to the ceiling. Anything to escape the growing realization that they were not alone. And in the middle of the chaos, Unyuk's eyes wandered almost instinctively to the corner of the room, the chair where he had left the audition form. And the girl's photo, the paper was still there. Same position. But the photo, it was gone. Not fallen, not moved, vanished, just like it had never existed. He hadn't seen anyone touch it, hadn't looked away for that long, but now only the form remained, quietly sitting there like nothing had ever happened. Some of the trainees whispered through the panic. Was it her? The girl in the photo? The one with the pale skin, the empty eyes? Was she the same ghost the coach had told them about? Maybe. Maybe she was always there, still training, still dreaming, still waiting to debut. And Unak wasn't the only one who had stories like this. Even after SM Entertainment moved to different buildings, the ghosts seemed to move with them. Karina from ESPA once shared a story from her own trainee days. She never said which building it was, but she remembered going down to the basement dance room late one evening. She saw a girl inside dancing. Karina thought it was just another trainee, someone she hadn't met yet. The girl had pale skin and long, thin legs. She was graceful, hauntingly so. But then Karina looked closer and there was something wrong. The girl didn't have a torso. It was just legs dancing, moving perfectly, silently in front of the mirror. Karina ran. She never looked back. And she's not alone. Trainees from NTC have spoken of the same basement dance room, how they would fall asleep during late practice only to wake up unable to move, like paralyzed, as if something sat on their chest, pressing down. Tail once said he saw those same legs, slim, elegant, dancing at midnight. And Ning Ning from ESPA. She swore she heard someone singing with her, a girl's voice hitting high notes right beside her during vocal practice. But she was alone. No one was music there, and yet the voice was real. People started believing it's the same ghost, the same trainee spirit trapped in time, practicing, dancing, and singing like she did in life, still chasing the dream she never reached. And maybe she doesn't know she's dead. Maybe she thinks she's still training, still getting ready to debut. So, next time you find yourself in a quiet studio when the air feels just a little too cold and the speaker crackles without warning, don't ask questions. Don't turn around. Just get out of that place as fast as you can. Okay, thank you for joining me tonight, and I will see you guys soon. Until next time, lock your doors and don't stay out after midnight. Okay, good night, guys.